It doesn't get more dramatic than that. We all know the story. The earth opens its mouth and swallows Korach and all the rebels that mounted an attempted coup against Moshe Rabbeinu and Hashem. And when you think the story is over, it's not. Uvnei Korach lo metu. And the children of Korach did not die. Now, we all know that this is a recipe for disaster. You expect these children to grow up and take revenge on Moshe Rabbeinu and Aharon. They witnessed the horrible and undignified death of their father. The stage is set here for a sequel. The Korach children strike back. But that is not what happens at all. We know the names of these children from early on in the book of Shemot, where the Torah lists the genealogy of the tribe of Levi. Their names were Asir, Elkanah, and Aviasaph. Chazal tell us they repented. And Tanakh records for us how they became prominent leaders of the Jewish people. In the book of Divrei Hayamim, Tanakh tells us that the children of Korach were officers in King David's royal court. They authored psalms in the book of Tehillim. Lam Natseach, Livnei Korach Mizmor. Moshe Rabbeinu's own children do not achieve such stature and status. The children of the most prominent villain in the Torah achieves great status, and the children of the Torah's greatest hero are unknown. Is this irony, or is this just life? Just because Korach was foolish or power hungry or simply a bad person does not mean his children will turn out that way. And just because Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble and most righteous human being to ever live does not mean his children will turn out that way either. If that does not scare you as much as it scares me, then you have a heart of stone. The Tanakh is filled with stories of great men and women whose children go off the derech, and simple plain men and women whose children become great leaders and righteous activists. Raising children is life's greatest joy and life's most terrifying experience. This past week, I received an email from a woman I went to high school with. She has been listening to my YouTube videos, and she asked in her email, "When did you decide to become a rabbi?" What she implied was, the Yamin Levy I knew in high school did not appear to be headed to rabbinical school. She's right. In high school I had long hair. It was the 70s. I loved sports, and I loved hanging out with my friends. I wrote back, as I try to do, to everyone who takes the time to write to me. My response had me thinking how multifaceted our children are. There were some people who knew the devotional and religious side of me that would eventually become a rabbi. They were not surprised. Others who knew me then would be surprised that I am a rabbi. Her email had me reflecting on how along the way there were so many influences, so many good people who just said the right thing, encouraged my curiosity, went out of their way to pave the path that led me to where I am today. I was specific in the email I wrote back, but upon further reflection, I could be even more specific. It could have been my parents of blessed memory, their love of Judaism and of Torah, the simplicity of their life. It could have been the many teachers and rabbis who modeled a passion for Judaism and encouraged me to pursue that passion. It might have been that rabbi in my high school who raised the money for me to go and study in Israel. Or it could have been the grant that afforded me a full scholarship at Yeshiva University. Who knows which of these tipped the scale? I am an educator, and I am so cognizant of the fact that every word and every interaction I have with a child can have a lasting impact. I recently heard a great story. It's about a Hasidic master whose son was trouble. He was a horse thief and an embarrassment to the entire community. The members of the community had it and decided that they would have to tell the rabbi, do something about your son or leave town. They selected 3 prominent members of the community to go and speak to the great rabbi. Yaakov was a wealthy man and president of the community. Shlomo was head of the charitable foundation, and Reuven was the chief of the burial society. They showed up at the rabbi's house on the eve of Yom Kippur. As they are waiting for the rabbi to emerge from his study, they hear him praying, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe. I come to you on this eve of Yom Kippur, the day of judgment, to ask that you show mercy to the leaders of our community. Yaakov, our president, has his faults. He is less than scrupulous in business. I know he overcharges customers and he's not honest on his scales. Shlomo can be dismissive of the poor. And difficult as it is for me to speak of these things, we all know he flirts with the widows who beg for food. And how about our good old Reuven, who often has to deal with tragedy and because of his duties with the burial society, resorts to drinking and insulting people and spreads gossip. The rabbi continued, I grant you, Hashem, they have all sinned. I know that you may very well decide to punish them. I admit they are wayward children, but please, Hashem, remember, I too have a wayward son, whose infractions surpass that of Yaakov, Shlomo, and Reuven. But I tolerate him. I continue to love him. I always keep my door open to him. I ask that you too, Hashem, forgive the leaders of our community and overlook their misdemeanors. As the rabbi was finishing his prayer, the 3 leaders, Yaakov, Shlomo, and Reuven, lowered their heads and left in shame. Uvnei Korach lo meitu. The children of Korach did not die. I say, Baruch Hashem. Who knows what positive influences in their lives led to the choices they made? It may have been a teacher, maybe a relative. It may have been their very own imperfect father. I, for one, never give up on anyone because people never gave up on me. Join me in never giving up on anyone, especially our children. Everyone deserves that, at least that. Shabbat Shalom.